This is Surrey Sound. I'm Tess Lewsey. 12 and a half years ago, my son Thomas was stillborn. He was born asleep at 39 weeks gestation. It's got to be the most devastating thing I have ever had to go through in my entire life. And I've been through quite a bit in my life. But losing Thomas was something that really affected me very deeply and is something that I will take to my grave with me. Surrey Sands have been invaluable where support is concerned for me. There are various organisations that do support bereaved parents and their families due to a loss of a baby at any stage of a pregnancy, but Surrey Sands have been just absolutely fantastic where I'm concerned. I have been part of several support groups over the years. Without that support, I don't think I have made it as far as I have. And through those support groups, I have come across two ladies who gave up some of their time and were very brave. I say brave because it's not always an easy thing to talk about and share your experiences. Alison Clark and Sam Harper Allen have kindly offered to speak to me for this interview for this week, for Babyloss Awareness Week, which is the 9th to the 15th of October. But firstly, I spoke to Alison and I asked her what Babyloss Awareness Week is all about.
Well, it's a week to raise awareness of, and to highlight the fact that 1 in 4 pregnancies in the UK end in a baby dying. And that could be early miscarriage, late miscarriage. It could be if a baby is stillborn, or it goes all the way into neonatal death as well. Like my son died when he was 4.5 days old. So any death of a child up to the age of a month, like we were saying, it happens quite a lot, but people aren't really aware of it. And so it's a week to raise that awareness, and I think help the parents as well not feel as shoved to the shadows, not feel as isolated, because it's still quite a taboo subject. But it's also a lot about different charities and organisations working together to make some real improvements and some tangible differences in terms of baby loss. So this year, the theme is about psychological support for bereaved parents, which I'm really passionate about. So yeah, it's all about highlighting and about raising that awareness and doing what we can do to stop as many babies dying, but when they sadly do, to help the families out as best as we can.
Now, I know you have touched on it there, but what does baby loss awareness mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's about making it part of normal conversation. It doesn't have to be something that's only whispered about, in the corridors or whatever. It's unfortunately, very, very, very sadly, babies do die, and when they do, it doesn't stop the parents wanting to talk about their babies. I have 3 children, and one of my oldest son, Sebastian, died. I want to talk about him just as much as I want to talk about my other children, and I want to talk about him in as normal a way as possible as well. I just want to mention his name in conversation and not have to deal with a sort of awkward pause and a kind of, right, let's hurry away and off this subject. So it's really about trying to get the general population and the general public not only aware of it, but feel more comfortable in terms of talking to those parents. I think that's a big thing for me.
People say to me, how many children have you got? I always say 2, but then sometimes I feel awkward and they kind of look at Caden and think, well, where's the other one? You kind of like, what do you say? And then you get like that, either people, oh, right, they change the subject, or they walk away, or they just look really awkward, and then you feel really awkward. But like you said, it's having that opportunity. Why shouldn't you talk about your child? You carried him, you gave birth to him, He was, well, he is your child. Alison Clark talking about Baby Loss Awareness Week, and we'll hear from Alison again shortly here on Surrey Sound. But I also spoke to Sam Harper Allen, and she told me how important Baby Loss Awareness Week is to her. And we also talk about Wave of Light.
So I think it's hugely important for a number of reasons. One, because people don't talk about it, and I think a lot of that is not people being uncaring or not feeling compassion. it's because people often don't know what to say, and so they say nothing. So it's like this massive taboo. Nobody kind of really talks about it until something traumatic happens in a family. The whole thing about the medical profession as well, I think, again, raising awareness within the medical profession, especially with our lack of bereavement midwives. It's the lack of support for family members, particularly dads. I mean, I think SANs are great. They are forerunners in terms of doing things to supporting dads, but often dads aren't recognised. And quite often that doesn't extend to grandparents. So for me, our first child was my parents' first grandchild. And so the grief that they felt, and the same thing, you know, as our first grandchild, look, and we tried for many years. We were an older couple and we tried for many years. So the grief that they felt was palpable. So Babyloss Awareness Week is an opportunity to say to people, don't be frightened to talk to me. I am a mum. This is my mum. I just can't hold my baby in my arms, but they're still in my heart.
Yes.
So it's all about, you know, don't be frightened to talk, to raise awareness, to celebrate all of those, you know, grandparents and aunts and uncles. People who have lost a child know, okay, there's a line at which, or there's a time at which payments become viable, but what happens before that?
They are trying to bring, I think, the weeks down because, like you say, 24 weeks is viable. But then before that, I've heard stories of couples who have had babies between, say, 18 and 23 weeks. Oh, but your baby is not viable, so we can't let you have a funeral. You can't bury your baby or cremate your baby. And you can't get a birth or a death certificate for your baby. I mean, that baby at 12 weeks is fully formed.
Talk about, you're going through probably one of the most traumatic things you will ever go through in your life. Oh, and by the way, we won't register that life. We won't recognise it. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And how no wonder people then have to access services like mental health support. It's like if you put preventative things in place, quite possibly the numbers of families that go through anxiety and trauma and PTSD wouldn't be at the same level if you acknowledge them properly, if you acknowledge their child.
What can you tell me about Wave of Light, please?
So on the 15th of October, it's a global recognition and celebration, really, of all the babies that have sadly died, and showing that sort of togetherness with the bereaved parents. So you light a candle on the 15th of October at 7 o'clock in the evening. You put it in the window for at least an hour, and it helps commemorate those babies that have died, and helps you join in that showing of I guess togetherness with those bereaved families.
But do you think the attitudes of hospitals and medical staff have changed, especially over the last few years?
The hospital where my son was transferred to, the NICU that we were transferred to, were amazing in terms of aftercare. They did offer support and offered so much. And I kind of, it seems, talking to other bereaved parents as well, that it's very hit or miss. In terms of the support that you receive. It's a bit like a lottery, what's it called, the postcode lottery.
Yeah.
Depending on what's available at your hospital, and depending on which staff member you get as well. Is it someone who has been trained in dealing with bereaved parents, or is it someone who hasn't? Is it someone who is sensitive to that, or someone who hasn't, who isn't sensitive? Sorry, it seems so hit and miss, but it's so massively important. And like the whole theme about this week is about that psychological support. It can make such a massive difference to how a parent is able to live.
In my heart, I want to say yes. So my son passed away in 2011, so I'm 8 years in. So I'd like to say that it has, although I use the word fortunate, but I shouldn't even have to use that. But I was fortunate to have received wonderful support from the medical profession. and I cannot and I will not ever force it. But in hosting the group that I do each month, the same stories from different families just keep on reoccurring, which does make me wonder and extremely sad and quite angry that families are going through the same thing. The circumstances may be different, but the same story keeps on repeating. So it's quite, things around negligence. There are things around lack of support after the baby's born, just a lack of knowledge and compassion, particularly around bereavement midwives. So in terms of the medical profession, I would like to say that it has. I'm not convinced 100% that it has, because the same stories keep reoccurring.
Well, they do say that if a wife loses her husband, she's a widow, and vice versa, they're a widower. If a child loses its parents, it's an orphan. There is just no word for a parent who loses a child. How do you describe that? It's... I don't think even I've got a word for it.
There is a woman whose son died when he was a baby. She set up a charity. I don't know if you know Our Missing Piece.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, she's on Instagram. She does loads of things, and she has got a word called, and I can never pronounce it correctly, but Vilomah. So Vilomah, I think, and that's the kind of word that she's using for a bereaved parent, because there is, like you say, there is no other word out there, is there?
Sam Harper-Allen and Alison Clark talking to me about Babyloss Awareness Week, and of course that takes place the 9th to the 15th of October. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to these ladies who gave up their time. It's not an easy topic, an easy subject to talk about, and thank you also to a couple of other ladies that offered their time as well. It is very much appreciated. But if you are affected by baby loss or know someone who is, I do have some web addresses to share with you, and also an event that SANS is holding.
Tess Lewsey on Surrey Sound.